we just explained in a lot of detail the shielded metal arc welding process. Now we are showing you here that these are two pieces to be joined. But suppose the thickness is big. The thickness is big. So if you weld from here, you will weld only this portion, right? And you want all this area to be filled. All this area to be filled. Normally the thickness is small. So just one go of welding is enough. But if the thickness is large, what you do is you start your first weld roughly in the middle, right? This is one plate, this is the other plate, this is a butt joint. These are butting against each other. You roughly go to the middle area, right? From the top, middle distance, from the bottom, middle distance. And here you do the first welding, right? Here you do the first welding and you are going along the length, right? We are showing you just the front face, but this is going all the way. Maybe it is half a meter long, maybe it is 1 meter, 1 foot long. So you are welding along that length, right? You start between the two plates in this distance and you go and weld. Once you do the weld, then you turn it upside down. Then you turn it upside down so that this is now on top. So you again do from the middle. You again do from the middle, but right, you have turned it upside down. So now this is here. This is now here. So you do the second weld, but this is also in the middle. So by doing first one weld and then turning it upside down and doing another middle weld, you have done this one. And then you do the 3 and the 4 and the 5 and so on, right? So you do welding in more than one passes. You do welding in more than one passes only if the thickness of the weld, the depth of the weld is more than normally would be there. And of course, if this type of deep weld is to be there, then the expertise of the welder must be much more than a normal arc welder. A normal arc welder should also be very good. We have explained to you that he needs to do 2 or 3 things very carefully at the same time. But here, if it is a deep weld and you have to do in several passes, then the weld quality, the welder quality should be even more. Now let us do one more example, right? Now this example, the previous example was general about heat and velocity in general arc welding, but now we have done shielded metal arc welding. So current in shielded metal arc welding. Now, a shielded metal arc welding operation takes place on a steel workpiece with a steel electrode, right? So I said that usually we match the base metal with the electrode. So yes, is steel with a steel with a 20 volt power supply. So the voltage is 20 volt. If a weld with a triangular cross-sectional area of the weld, cross-sectional area of the weld, triangle, with a 10 millimeter leg length, 10 millimeter leg length, I will explain it to you. Estimate the current needed for a welding speed of 10 millimeters per second. Use an efficiency of 75%. Now here they have given efficiency. Even if they had not given the efficiency, if it is general arc welding, shielded metal especially, then in the earlier guideline, the 75% would have been there. So even if they had not given this efficiency, you would go back to your notes and you will see that for shielded arc welding, it is 75%. So now what I ask you to do always, that pause my lecture, take your pen, pencil, paper, go back into equations and so on, but don't go forward in the lecture, solve it. This always gives you that confidence that I can solve it independently. Once you are 100% sure, then please unpause my lecture and continue. So if you are listening to me now, you have already solved the problem, right? So what are the knowns and the unknowns? You are doing shielded metal arc welding. The metal and the electrode is a steel. Okay. Voltage 20 volt. Weld area triangular in cross section. One side of the triangle 10 millimeter. So now you see it is an isosceles triangle in welding. One side, the other side. Because suppose this is one metal and we are doing a corner joint, this is the other metal, right? One metal is here, the other metal is here, and we are welding in the corner. So one leg of the triangle is here, one leg of the triangle is here, and the third is the other side. So the two legs of the triangle are 10 millimeters. Oh, sorry, 10 millimeter. And then the current is this and efficiency is this. Okay. So if the welding speed is given and voltage and so on are given, then you know the equation. You know the equation to be used. The only thing additional here is the area. Normally in the equation the area is given. Here it is a triangle where two sides are 10 millimeter, 10 millimeter. So half base into height, right? Half base into height. Base is also 10, height is also 10. And you find the area of the triangle and then just substitute. Okay. And of course, if the metal is there, then the specific energy of the metal will be there. So, right, this is the table. A specific energy is there. Normal steels, not other, normal steel, not a stainless, normal steel. So 9.1 to 10.3. Therefore, you can use anything in between. The best, as I suggest, is to take the average of these two values, right? The average of these two values, and then use. So this will be the small u, the specific energy of the material, right? Area of the triangle is half base into height. So half into 10 into 10. And the equation, we have done it in the previous example also. It is still arc welding. So velocity, efficiency, voltage, current, a specific energy, cross-sectional area, which is this. So now we just substitute the values here, leave the current here. If they want to find the current, that what current should be there for this speed, leave the current here, send everything else there, and you find the value. Okay. So that is it. The area is half base into height. So it is 50 millimeter square. From the table, they are taking maximum heat, 10.3 specific energy. You could have taken the average. If you take 10.3, then this will be the value. If you have taken the average, then the value will be different. Don't worry. But then you just write I is equal to V U A upon E V, isn't it? So you just substitute there. Now velocity is given, a specific energy is given, area you have found out, efficiency is given, voltage is given. Because all units were in millimeters, so they cancel each other out. And you have so many amperes. The current is directly in amperes, because when everything else cancels out, if the energy was in joules, then the current is in amperes, the voltage is in volts, and so on. Right? So a very simple diagram, problem. So in welding, it means the problems cannot be too complicated. But of course, in the real field, this is very important to know, so that we can select the proper speed, the proper current, the proper voltage. If any of these variables is not selected correctly, then the welding quality will not be good, right? For the welding quality to be good, welding quality good means that first of all, the welder is very good. There are no gaps and pores and cracks and so on. The welder is very good. He knows how to weld. So that is the skill of the welder. That is something else, a skill of the welder. If the welder is bad, then you have chosen the correct electrode, you have chosen the current and voltage and everything very well, but the expertise or the skill of the welder is bad, so there will be gaps and air bubbles and cracks and so on. But if the welder is very good, then which electrode you choose, what current you set, what voltage you set, what speed you select. Now, if the welder quality is good and all these parameters are selected correctly, then after welding and cleaning, the joint will have the same strength as you designed in the original material, right? So this is very important, isn't it? Otherwise, you designed some materials, you made the individual parts. When you joined them by welding, if the strength goes down, then you have used design calculations that this will be the strength of my material, but the strength is not the same. But if the welder has good skill and if all the parameters are selected correctly, then after welding in the weld area also, the property of the material is the same as in the rest of the area. So this is very critical. The next type of welding, submerged arc welding. Submerged arc welding. When I first heard of it or read about submerged arc welding. You know submarine. It is called a submarine because it goes inside the water. When something goes completely inside water, you say it is submerged. It is submerged. So I thought that this means that there is some type of underwater welding. I have worked in a shipyard also, where ships come for repairs and so on. Here, you know, in Duqm, there is a big shipyard, dockyard, where they drain all the water, bring the ship inside, drain all the water, so that normally a ship is a very big weight. So maybe 10 meters, 12 meters, 15 meters of the ship is inside the water all the time. So if you have to do repairs at the bottom, you can't. So you put it inside. It is called a dry dock. It comes, the ship comes, and then all the water is now drained. So now the whole ship is available and you do well. So I was thinking in my mind that on boats and ships and so on, if you do repair work right inside the water, then it is called submerged. But I was totally wrong. This submerged does not mean that the welding is being done inside water. So please, I made this mistake, you don't make this. Now this is the system. This is the machine. And this is a bigger machine now. There is no electrode. The electrode is coming from a spool, from a reel. So it is coming continuously. Previously, there is a single electrode. You do the welding. Once the electrode is finished, you stop. You put another electrode in the electrode holder. You continue welding. When it is finished, you stop. So that is a disjoint method. Every time one electrode is burnt up, then you replace the electrode with a new one. Here, it is electrode wire, not electrode, and it is on a reel. So this is coming continuously. So you can keep on going, it does not matter, right? There is a hopper. Hopper means this triangular type of pan, vessel, where you keep something. So this is a hopper. This has the flux. Remember, if you remember the previous lecture, if this is the electrode wire, then on the outside, the coating is called the flux. The coating outside this wire is called the flux. So in a normal electrode, this is the electrode, and outside the flux is already coated. Here, the wire is pure. The electrode wire is pure. The flux is put inside this hopper as a powder. And this keeps on falling through, of course, a connection to the weld area. Right? And from here, right, there is the other side of welding connection. So from here, the wire is coming. From here, the arc or the temperature and so on is coming. And the hopper is feeding the powder on top of the welding. So the slag that will be formed over the welding, will be because this flux is melting. Okay. So if you read all the things, voltage and current control, right? Voltage pickup leads and so on. It is grounded, of course. Electrode wire reel, flux hopper, unfused flux recovery tube, right? Wire feed motor, electrode cable. This is an electrode, right? This is going there down. Contact tube, the contact, workpiece, and weld backing. Yeah, you are putting it on a table and so on, right? So this is a more complicated setup, but the great thing is that this is fully automated. You set up everything, the distance and so on. Start here, put the start button and go away. And this will keep on moving along this line, Once it is completed, you push the stop button. So the worker does not have to do the welding himself. The worker has just to set up the whole thing, start at the contact point, push the start button, and then it will continue doing it itself, right? So this is submerged arc welding.